The Rams could make a shocking move as they're making their final 53-man roster decisions today. We're talking about a rookie who may not make that final 53-man roster. We are also talking about a player who was traded this morning, all on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Press that subscribe button now, as roughly 65% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not pressing that subscribe button. All I'm saying is, if you're already watching the video, might as well press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. We have a lot to get into on today's episode, starting off with kind of a crazy story. Now, I want to preface this story by saying a couple things here. One, we're going to talk a little bit about social media, right? A little bit about some speculation here. But I also want to emphasize there is some real, true, tangible evidence as to why we think this player could possibly lose their job, starting with the social media rumors and stuff like that first. But are the Rams really cutting rookie linebacker Chris Paul Jr.? It appears Paul won't make Los Angeles' initial 53-man roster as a fifth-round rookie. This comes to us from Cameron DeSilva of the Rams Wire. Now, there's a little bit of speculation on this front, right? Nothing is finalized in terms of this front, but again, there is some real, true, hard evidence that we have to kind of sit and consider. Now, first, I want to say this would be shocking. This would be crazy. This would be disappointing if this were to be the case, if Chris Paul Jr. does not make this roster. But while it's not a tweet with overwhelming conviction, there are indications that this report is accurate. So this comes to us from Draft Diamonds last night, about late in the evening, hearing Rams cut linebacker Puka Nacua Jr. Again, random tweet here. I don't even know if this is a reputable source necessarily, but in addition to that post, Chris Paul Jr.'s father, Christopher Paul Sr., seemingly confirmed the Rams are cutting the rookie linebacker with this response to one fan's post on X. So Deb on X, this almost feels like not even real, but Deb on X says, "No, not Puka Paul, come on." Coach Christopher Paul Sr. replies to the tweet, apparently a real official source from his father, with a crying emoji, seemingly confirming that is the case, or at least maybe he's concerned that's the case, concerned that that's a reality here. Definitely something that's intriguing to think about. Now, this does not mean that this is all said and done, set in stone, it's over. That's it. Chris Paul Jr. has been moved on from by the Rams. But it's an intriguing thing to raise your eyebrows at the fact that this is a rumor, and then that his father's even responding to the rumor. Now, going to Chris Paul Jr. himself, his Instagram. Again, not confirmation of him being waived, but it's a strong indicator that his time in Los Angeles might be done, unless he signed back to the practice squad, of course, after clearing waivers, which we'll talk about that in a second. But here's another social media post. Puka Paul Jr., he says it's already written. Prayer hand emojis, LA. I think it's a finger up emoji with the palm tree. Is that, hey, I had a good time in LA. This was fun, but now I'm ready to move on type of situation. Here are my highlights on this post, right? Multiple images of him so far in Los Angeles. So as shocking as this decision is, there may have been a clue. Right, so we're not just talking about social media here. That's why I want to cut off here and kind of talk about this part as well, because it's not just social media. So his dad is putting the crying emoji. He's saying it's already written. What do you mean it's already written? Your story's written and you're going to be a legend, or it's already written in paper officially, you're getting moved on from the Rams? What is happening here? That is kind of the question mark here. But it's not just social media, right? There's clues here, and that's what Cameron DeSilva is getting at here. He says clues during Saturday's preseason game that Paul was in danger of being cut. Not only was he a backup in the finale against the Cleveland Browns, but he played most of the game. That is the concern here. Now, of course, maybe some people are saying, well, he's a rookie, you want to get him snaps, you want to get him opportunities, blah, blah, whatever. But ultimately, the reality is in the NFL, Chris Paul Jr. was on the field for 75% of the snaps. So playing all the way, and he played all the way through the end of the fourth quarter. And so players who typically have secured a roster spot for the Rams, they either sit out the final preseason game, or all three games entirely, or kind of like some other rookies here, they start maybe the finale, play limited snaps, just like Jarquez Hunter and Terrence Ferguson did. So, again, nothing is set in stone, nothing is official. This does not mean this is happening for sure, but a lot of signs here are pointing in the direction of, hey, don't be too surprised. We're warning you now. Puka Paul Jr. may not make this 53-man roster initially. Now, there's fingers crossed here that if he is going to be waived and not on the 53-man roster, he clears waivers and the Rams can pick him up and add him to their practice squad. But that is also a concern. And that, to me, that's kind of a dangerous risk for the Rams to make, in my personal opinion. I think the Rams would probably be better off. I don't know if this is possible. I think this is possible for them to work out. But the Rams should be able to cut a Troy Reeder, for example, hope he clears waivers, and then sign him to basically the same contract he was on initially. And that could be an easier path to them keeping this 53-man roster the way it is. Maybe it's too much roster gymnastics for them and they don't even want to deal with it. They just want to move on from Chris Paul Jr. now and hope and cross their fingers that he clears waivers so he can make the practice squad. But that's my concern. I don't know if he's going to clear waivers. I think there's definitely going to be one of those 31 other teams that are interested in claiming a guy like Chris Paul Jr. off of waivers. Maybe you can say, look at practice, the preseason film, and the Rams don't like XYZ, and that's why they're not keeping him, so therefore other teams don't want him either. You can say what you want, but other teams may be like, well, I liked him in college. We want to draft him this year. Ultimately, I don't think his film was that bad. I think I can coach him up better, or our coach can coach him up better. Let me bring him over to my team in New Orleans, or my team in wherever needs a linebacker, right? And so that is the concern here, right? That, in my opinion, if the Rams do move on from Chris Paul Jr. and hope and pray that he makes the practice squad, I don't think he will. I think one of those 31 other teams will likely claim a guy who was a 5th-round pick this year for basically nothing, right? Why would you not pick up a guy who was literally a 5th-round pick for not a 5th-round pick, right? You're not trading a 5th-round pick to get Chris Paul Jr., picking him up for free, basically, right? And so that is kind of the concern here, in my opinion. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Firstly, do you think we're valid here in breaking this down this way and saying that these signs are pointing to him being cut? Do you think it's a thing we should be concerned about, or are you not really, too worried about it? You think he's going to be on the roster? How would you feel also if the Rams did let go of Chris Paul Jr.? I think that's kind of a concern, in my opinion. I wanted him to play. I wanted him to play over a guy like Troy Reeder, for example, maybe even Sean Dolak. I thought Chris Paul Jr. could be better than. And so if he's not, that is a concern from his perspective and his career. But also, if he is and the Rams move on from him and they have Troy Reeder instead of Chris Paul Jr. just because they want a veteran rather than have a rookie, that's also concerning and a bad decision, in my opinion, from the defensive side of things. So very, very intriguing to keep an eye on this story. We'll wait and see on it. Again, today, in just a couple hours, the Rams have to kind of make their final decisions. We'll see what those decisions end up being ultimately when it's all said and done. Sorry that I'm lagging so hard, by the way. I don't know what's going on with this today. Moving on from that, trade alert. The Rams make a trade this morning. Kind of a smaller one for sure, but definitely one that happened and interesting to discuss about for sure. The Rams kind of doing their thing here, making this trade official this morning. And I'm trying to stay on the screen for a bit so I don't lag too hard. But Rams make unexpected trade before finalizing roster. And this comes to us originally from Brock Vieira of the Los Angeles Rams on Sports Illustrated. And so ultimately, a player that maybe not many people are too familiar with or maybe forgot about a little bit. Clearly a player who's had some success in college. Here you see this image. But ultimately, we're talking about KT Leveston, a player that I thought added some nice depth to the Rams' offensive line. But ultimately, hey, look, if the Rams don't think that this was a situation where they can keep a guy like this on the roster and they can't make it happen, they'll make the trade rather than just releasing this player. Get something rather than getting nothing, right? So the Rams got to finalize this 53-man roster before the NFL's 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time deadline. In order to make room for the roster, Rams are trading offensive lineman KT Leveston to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns get Leveston. The Rams get a 7th-round pick in 2028. Maybe you're like, well, 2028 is a couple years away. Why are we even worried about that? Ultimately, a draft pick's a draft pick, and I think the Rams are valuing that in this situation rather than trading a player for nothing. Why not get something for him in return, right? And so Leveston is also a player who alternated. He played a little bit of guard, played a little bit of tackle, but ultimately was a 2024 7th-round pick who spent the entirety of last season on the injured reserve, did not play a single official snap for the Los Angeles Rams. So not really losing too much here from what the Rams have been seeing on the offensive line the last couple years. And so ultimately, why not get something in return for a guy you're likely moving on from ultimately when it's all said and done? In terms of the official update on the Rams roster cuts, here is the last update that I've seen, and it could have changed by the time I post this video, but because we are only a couple hours now away from that deadline being there. But officially, the Rams have a lot of work to do still. This is still the official waived list of players they moved on from. There's a couple added names from the last time we look at this list. And staying full screen here, here is the update on the players they released and players they traded. So Tony Fields, we talked about a couple episodes ago, was released, traded KT Leveston today, and then cut the rest of these folks here. ultimately, I think the Rams are in a situation where they still got a lot of work to do, probably on the phone, calling some teams, seeing if they can make something happen in terms of possibly trading some of these guys still who are on the roster right now currently. But ultimately, we'll wait and see on what their final 53-man roster looks like. They do have some tough decisions, it seems like, as the Rams kind of seem to like a lot of these guys they have in the building right now. So, we'll see what those final decisions end up being when it's all said and done. Moving on from that, last but not least, my favorite part of the episode, Trivia of the Day, where I ask a trivia question. You give your trivia guesses down below in the comment section. Whether right or whether wrong, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode that I'm on here at the Rams Digest. Last episode, Trivia of the Day, we asked this question to everyone here. We said, what was the first NFL team to have cheerleaders? We gave you guys some multiple choice options with this question here. The multiple choice options were here. Was it A? Sorry, give me a second. It's taking forever to load. I don't know what's up. My computer lagging today. What was the first NFL team to have cheerleaders? Was it A, the Dallas Cowboys? Was it B, the Baltimore Colts? Was it C, the Kansas City Chiefs? Or was it D, the Oakland Raiders? A few of you guys play along with the trivia of the day on the last episode. If you missed it and you want to play along with today's episode, we'll play along in just a couple minutes. We're going to talk about today's trivia of the day. But last episode's trivia of the day, here were all of you who guessed. We had the pilot seat saying, gotta be the Ravens. We had, I don't know, why is it gotta be the Ravens? That's kind of very confident in your answer. Freddie says the Cowboys. Floyd says Cowboys. Carla says Baltimore Colts. Paula says the Baltimore Colts were the first NFL team to have cheerleaders. We had Juan saying, what's up, Josh? Appreciate the shout out. Go Rams. On the trivia, I believe it was the Cowgirls. Let's go Rams. Appreciate you, Juan. And then we have the Roger Will saying Oakland Raiders, complete guess. Thomas says Higbee is a great player, but he gets hurt a lot. I'm ready to see what Ferguson can do with Stafford throwing him the ball. Trivia, I'm going to say the Baltimore Colts because they were one of the first teams. Oh, okay, that logic kind of makes sense. Maybe that's what the pilot was saying. It's got to be the Ravens because they were one of the first teams in NFL history. But yeah, I hear you, Thomas. Real quick, talking about your Tyler Higbee situation. We'll see what Terrence Ferguson does in case Tyler Higbee gets hurt. But the correct answer for the trivia of the day, appreciate all of you guys for playing along, whether you're right or whether you're wrong. All of you guys for guessing, I really appreciate it. The correct answer for today's trivia of the day, or yesterday's trivia of the day, was the Baltimore Colts. It was B. I almost forgot about it for a second. It was B, the Baltimore Colts, as they actually were the first team to have cheerleaders all the way back in 1954. Very, very long time ago. So shout out to all of you guys for guessing. Shout out to the ones who got it correct especially. So special shout out here. We had the pilot seat. We had Carla. We had Paula. And we had, who else? Thomas, all saying the Baltimore Colts. So appreciate all of you guys for playing along. Special shout out to the ones who got it correct as well. If you guys thought this question was easy, you want to play along, get a shout out just like these fine folks got on today's episode, well, play along with today's episode of Trivia of the Day so you can get a shout out just like they did. Who was the first player to throw for 5,000 yards in a single season? Again, who was the first player to throw for 5,000 yards in a single season? We got some multiple choice options for you all. Was it A, Tom Brady? Was it B, Dan Marino? Was it C, Drew Brees? Or was it D, Patrick Mahomes? Who was the first player to throw for 5,000 yards in a single NFL season? Is it A, Tom Brady, B, Dan Marino, C, Drew Brees, or D, Patrick Mahomes? Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Whether right or whether wrong, we'll give a shout out on the next episode that I'm on here at the Rams Digest. So make sure you guys get your comments in as soon as possible. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, consider pressing that subscribe button before you go. Other than that, that's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.